Good day, eh? Let me ask you something honest. When someone is talking to you, really talking, what are you actually doing? If you're like me, you're listening, and you're also already forming your response. The moment you start crafting your reply, you've stopped listening, truthfully. I spent years thinking that the quick reply made me a good communicator. It didn't. It made me a fast reactor. And those aren't the same thing. So, welcome to Click Start. I'm Gary, your host. Short episodes, real talk, practical ideas at the intersection of technology, leadership, and the cliches and sayings that connect them. Today is episode 4, and we're talking about one of the most deceptively simple skills in leadership: listening fully before you speak. An ancient Stoic once said, "You have two ears and one mouth. Use them proportionally." Or, my version for today: listen twice, speak once. Simple, obvious, and almost nobody does it consistently. I personally suck at it. Here's the thing: we all think we're better listeners than we are. Ask a room full of leaders to rate themselves, and the average will be, well above the average, which is mathematically unlikely, and also tells you everything. Listening feels passive. It feels like waiting, but active listening is one of the most demanding things a leader does. And when you do it well, it changes how people respond to you. I've occasionally got lucky there. So, what you hear isn't always what was said. Even when you are listening, truly paying attention, what you hear isn't always what was meant. Two filters are always working simultaneously. The first is interpretation. The same sentence lands completely differently depending on the other person's frame of reference, history, and experience. Not yours. I had a colleague years ago, smart and capable, someone I respected. We were working through a disagreement, and I said something like, "Well, let's get together later and hash this out." To me, that meant let's collaborate, dig in together, work through it. To her, it meant we're going to have to fight about this. She got defensive. I got confused. And we spent the next 10 minutes untangling a conversation that never intended to go sideways in the first place. It never needed that direction. Same words, completely different meaning. Neither of us was wrong. We just brought different dictionaries to the same conversation. The second filter, and this one is big, is the gap between presenting a problem and the real problem. In IT, this happens constantly. Someone says, "My application is slow." But the real issue might be, "I feel like nobody respects my time and cares if I'm productive." If you fix the ticket but miss the frustration, you didn't solve the problem, you resolved the system, and it's likely the problem shows up again later. Most people know about the 5 whys as a root cause analysis technique. Keep asking why until you reach the underlying cause or real concern. IT teams use it in troubleshooting every day. But also think about it as a listening tool. It's what happens when you stay curious instead of jumping to solutions too soon. Curiosity is the antidote to premature reactionation. The project is behind schedule. Bad news early. Why? Requirements keep changing. Why? The business stakeholders aren't in sync. Why? They haven't agreed on what success looks like. Expectation management. Well, why? Well, nobody asked them to define it before the project started. Now you know that now you know what you're actually dealing with. Not a timeline problem, a process gap that will cause the next project to run late too. If you'd responded to the first sentence, you'd have a recovery conversation that really solved nothing long term. You don't have to literally ask why 5 times, that gets awkward fast, but staying curious, asking another question, not settling for the surface answer, digging to really understand context. That's the whole discipline. Leaders who listen well build something that fast reactors don't: the reputation of being someone worth talking to. People don't bring their real problems to leaders who listen fast. They bring them to leaders who listen fully. When people believe you actually hear them, they bring you better information. They surface problems earlier. They share the real issue, not just the safe version. Think back to episodes 2 and 3. Bad news surfaced early, expectations set before they're needed. Both require a culture where people believe they'll be heard. You cannot build that culture if you're crafting your reply while others are still talking. Listening is the foundation. Everything else is built on top of it. So there's a few things you can take away from today. First, notice when you've shifted from listening to crafting a reply. Awareness alone will change your behavior. When you catch yourself formulating mid-sentence, stop yourself. Come back. The reply can wait 30 more seconds. Second, ask one more question before you respond. Tell me more about that. What's the part that bothers you most? One more question almost always reveals something the first didn't. That's the spirit of the 5 whys in an everyday conversation. Third, summarize before you respond. So what I'm hearing you say is ... It confirms your understanding, and it signals to the other person that they were genuinely heard, which is often half of what they needed in the first place. So listening isn't fully passive. It's leadership. It's resisting the urge to show you're in charge, to react. It's staying curious one question longer and hearing the problem behind the problem. And I'm saying this knowing I still need to do better. Kelly reminds me this often. So listen twice, speak once. The answer you are about to give will still be there after you've actually heard the real question. That's Click Start for today. Hit follow, subscribe, like, share, comment, whatever all those things are, so you don't miss the next one. And I'll see you next time here on Click Start.